For more on Kim Jong-un's speech and what it could mean, I'm joined from New York by current affairs commentator Victor Gao. Victor, thanks for being on the program.
Thank you.
So are you surprised by what Kim Jong-un said in his speech?
Well, as we entered the new year, the situation on the Korean Peninsula remains as tense as ever. And in this circumstance, I think Mr. Kim Jong-un's statement is to be welcomed. Whether he's really serious about that, we still need to wait and see. However, I think it is important to point out that dialogue is much better than tension. And I think the leadership of DPRK should really stretch out its hand and engage in dialogue with all the other stakeholders on the Korean Peninsula, and to make sure that we joined together to reduce tension, de-escalate, and denuclearize so that we can achieve lasting peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula.
Victor, he said that if Pyongyang's conditions were met, and I'm quoting here, depending on the mood and circumstances, he was willing to have high-level summit with his southern neighbors. What does that mean? What does it mean depending on the mood and circumstance? And what exactly are his conditions?
Well, in our experience, over the past few years, the DPRK leadership sometimes make some statements, but then very quickly they change their mind. And I think for this instance, it is again a test as to whether the leadership of DPRK is serious about it. And I think to read between the lines of the statement of Mr. Kim Jong-il is difficult. And I think we still need to wait and see what the government in DPRK can follow up with actual deeds. Now, as far as China is concerned, we support peace and stability, and we do not acknowledge any nuclearization on the Korean Peninsula. We urge DPRK to denuclearize for the sake of greater peace and stability. And I think in this background, if all the stakeholders really see things eye to eye, the six-party talk framework remains the only viable framework. And in this overall framework, a summit meeting between DPRK and the Republic of Korea will be not only welcomed, but all very much encouraged by all the other stakeholders. And I think if this summit meeting can take place in the coming few months, for example, it could contribute to achieve peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula. Therefore, even though we still need time to see what exactly Mr. Kim Jong-il means and whether he can follow up with actual deeds, we need to encourage the situation to develop in this overall direction.
If these talks do happen, do you foresee a third party like China having a role, and what kind of role would China have?
Well, if you look at the situation on the Korean Peninsula, the six parties that we have identified, especially China and the United States, and to a lesser extent Russia, I would say, every one of us has an important role to play. And after all, the situation in the Korean Peninsula is still an overhang from the Second World War and from the Cold War. And it is time for everyone, all the stakeholders, to really join hands to eliminate this overhang and pave the groundwork for lasting peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula.
And maybe, Victor, 2015 will be the year for peace and stability, especially along the Korean Peninsula. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you for having me.